As you may see, the week closed without any kind of reversal doji, which is really good. So we may expect at least this threat to be eliminated, so the future rise is even more likely than it was before. But without making any predictions for the price, I would like to refer to the question of ETF today. And I think it's interesting because last week there was the delay on SEC decision on Bitwise ETF, but they didn't make a decision on VanEck. And here is the thread from Jake Chervinsky, who uses to cover those questions about Bitcoin ETFs recently. And here's what he is saying. Well, main point is that with the current condition of the market, when everybody is so bullish, we may see such events as the signs for the potential approval of Bitcoin ETF from VanEck. But he is pointing out that, in fact, if there will not be delay of the VanEck Bitcoin ETF proposal, then the more likely it will be rejected, not approved. And here are his arguments. So, first of all, so far, every time when SEC announced their decision, they made it basically simultaneously for all the ETFs out there, whether there were rejections or delays. So he said if SEC would expecting to postpone their decision on VanEck ETF, they would probably make this announcement together with the ETF from Bitwise. So if they didn't, the denial is more likely to happen. He said that SEC didn't approve ETF for 6 years so far, and while it's moving slowly and carefully, it means that usually they would consider to take the whole period of time that they have before approving. And this is just the one of the deadlines, not the final deadline. And final deadline will be 18th of October. So let's remember this date. We will return to this a little later. Also, he said that the market conditions are not that great now because of Bitfinex and Binance and some volatility recently, so on and so forth. And also related to the Bitwise delay, the SEC announced their points of concern. Here is the document from them. It's like many points, and he is summing up them as, for example, the nature of the market of Bitcoin, efficiency of this market, the possible manipulation of that, the relationship between Bitcoin futures and spot markets, the existence of surveillance sharing agreements, etc., etc. So if SEC would consider those points to be grounds for denying Bitwise, why they would not use the same for VanEck ETF? Because basically they're pretty much common for the overall space. But why he said possibly SEC would delay Bitwise but deny VanEck ETF? At some point they are very different. For example, Bitwise would use public exchanges while VanEck would use OTC to define the price of Bitcoin. In fact, he still thinks that it's more likely that this silence doesn't mean anything, and he would say that delay is more likely to happen with 75% probability. But if it will not be delayed, then it's more likely to be the denial. So all the hype about the possible approval is, in his opinion, absolutely incorrect. So now I would like to refer you to time analysis principles from Tone Vays. And let's see how this resonates with the ETF decision. Time analysis allows to spot the time when certain events happen. And he uses the number pi, which is 3.14, multiplying it by 1000, and it gives him the cycle of 8.6 years. And taking a look at the critical stages of the cycles, like half of the cycle, quarter of the cycle, one can expect that maybe some key events would happen at this point of time. So for example, on August 11, 2017, Tone Vays expected that it would be the highest point for the price of Bitcoin, but instead of that, it appeared to be the event related to SegWit, which is also a really nice match as a prediction because it was a critical event for Bitcoin anyway. So he looked at the other things as well, and one of his points was that he was expecting, of course, the drop to something like $1,000, but he was thinking that it may happen in one of these time points which are important in terms of this time analysis with the number pi, and he is saying that this will happen on October 5th this year. So now remember, ETF final decision from SEC would be on October 18th. This will be the deadline. So a little bit later than his date, which he is pointing out here. And of course, SEC will not necessarily announce it on the last day or day before, but maybe like a week earlier as they did it before as well. So it's not clear how much Tone will be right with the price action, but if this will happen with ETF around the same day, then you may expect a video from him pointing this thing up. And in fact, it will be a really great educated guess. So far, we don't know, but the decision will be probably tomorrow, at least about the delay. So we will see how it will evolve. And that is it for today. I hope it was useful. Thank you for watching.